Alright guys, so the first step is going to be to get my ground beef cooking. So this is partially frozen. I put it into this pan on medium low, and I'm just covering it and allowing it to cook at this lower temperature so that it can thaw out at the same time without burning. So I went ahead and seasoned it, and here's what I used. I used some Himalayan pink salt, also used some of this peppercorn grinder, so black pepper. And then I went in with some garlic powder, onion powder, some of this garlic and herb seasoning, and finally some adobo. So that's everything that I put into the ground beef. So here's the ground beef, and here's the pan, and I was able to keep a good amount of that oil or fat out of it. So now it's time to focus on how we can actually start building in that taco flavor. So I'm going in with 2 cans of these diced tomatoes and green chilies. Of course, we also need water because this is a 1-pot dish, and I'm going to add the pasta directly into here. So I just filled up each of these cans with some water. And to bring even more taco flavor, I'm going in with the package of this taco seasoning. From here, it's really just about seasoning it well, just because we're going to add in that pasta and we want to make sure that it has good flavor. So one way that you can do that is to season this broth and give it a taste, and if it tastes like it has enough seasoning, then you know you're pretty much, you know, you're on the right track. And if not, you can always add a little bit more. And that's usually what I do. I always try to add some bouillon in here into these broths, just because they add so much flavor without having to have a bunch of different seasonings in your pantry. So these Maggi cubes are definitely one of my secret weapons when it comes to making these 1-pot pasta dishes and rice dishes. So I'm going to add 1 of the chicken bouillon cubes. You could also do veggie. And then I'm going to add a little bit of adobo, just a little. Some garlic and onion powder. You could put some cumin in here if you wanted to. And then the last thing I'm going to add is some garlic and herb seasoning. And that's it. I'm going to get about at least a pound of pasta in here, but I'm going to try to put more than that just because I have a really big family. And obviously this is taco spaghetti, so I'm going to use spaghetti noodles. So I have a 2-pound box of spaghetti from Aldi, so I'm going to try to estimate and do a little more than half. And I'm also going to break these in half like that, just so it makes it easier to kind of control how they're sitting in the water. So I think I did about 1 1/4 pounds of this spaghetti pasta, and I feel like you guys can see that it's not necessarily covering the pasta. It's probably not going to be enough liquid in here to cook them, so I'm going to have to add some more. And if you're making this and you're going to include the ground beef, you don't have to remove it. I wanted to make this more on the vegetarian side than the like full meat eater version, so I removed it and just put it off to the side. But if everybody in your house is going to eat it, then you don't have to remove it and you can just cook it in here, and it will definitely add more flavor as well. So this is looking pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and cover it and let it simmer for about 7 to 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and check it to make sure it doesn't need any more liquid. So the pasta itself does have pretty good flavor, but it's I would say about 5 minutes away from being done. And I don't think that there's enough liquid in here to finish the cooking process. So I'm going to add some more. So now that the noodles are done, the last thing you want to do is give it one more taste for seasoning, and then if it needs something, just add whatever you think it needs. If it's more salt, if it's pepper, if it's some more taco seasoning, or whatever you think. The only thing I'm going to add is a little bit more of the adobo and some black pepper. And now I'm going to figure out which portion of this I want to have meat and which I don't. So I'm going to take some of this ground beef and put it on only the portion that I want to have meat on it. So I'm going to do about half of it, or slightly more than half. And the last step is going to be to top this with some cheese and just let it melt all over the top. And I would recommend like Colby Jack cheese as my first choice, but I don't have that. So I'm just using normal cheddar cheese. And once this cheese melts, you'll be able to clearly see the line of demarcation between which part has meat and which doesn't, just because of the texture of it. You'll be able to see all of these lumps and bumps and ridges from the meat. So I'm just going to generously top this with the cheese and then put the top back on it and allow the cheese to melt. I went ahead and turned the heat off on this just because I'm about to leave and I won't actually be here to eat this dinner. But this is just for my husband and the kids for dinner. So I'm not going to worry about melting the cheese fully. They can always turn the heat back on low and just allow the cheese to melt and the dish to heat back through when they're actually ready to eat dinner. Right now it's like 2 o'clock, so they're not going to be eating dinner for a few hours. But I just wanted to show you guys how it looks and how when the cheese melts you can actually see where the ground beef is. So you can see right there that you can see through the cheese and you can see the ground beef, and it'll be like that all over, and then you'll be able to see where it starts and stops. So it shouldn't be hard to identify which parts are vegetarian and which aren't. But that is it for this video. I'm trying to get King to send me a picture of his plate when they actually do eat dinner. So hopefully he will remember, and then I can show you guys what it looked like plated. And yeah, that's it. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.